Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. We're going to skip ahead a little bit. Circumstances have it that I won't be with you next week or the week after. So I won't be here 2 Sundays in a row. It's not like I'm going to really be gone all that much, but I'll be gone over the weekend and the Sunday in the beginning of the week. So you won't see me for a little while. Jesus said in John's Gospel, in a little while you won't see me, and you'll have grief. I don't know, maybe you won't have that much grief. But Jesus said it to his disciples. And then he said, and after a little while you will see me again. And you will have joy. And nothing will take away your joy. Boy, I hope you feel that way when I come back. But Jesus said that of his disciples. As a matter of fact, that's the reading you'll hear next week. It's the one I spent a lot of time thinking about this week. That's what I'm going to talk to you about. But we'll start with the Good Shepherd. Boy, the Good Shepherd. God said, I will seek out my sheep. Who said that? God said. God the Father. Then in John we hear Jesus say, I am the Good Shepherd. Who seeks out the sheep? Which one? Is it Jesus or is it God? Is it both? Or are they not themselves one? Everything that God is, everything that God is and does can be seen most clearly in Jesus. We have an unfortunate picture that I think stifles our joy quite a bit. Jesus said his disciples would grieve at his death, but that they would see him alive again. And that fact, that experience, that moment, that would give them such a profound joy that nothing ever could take it away from them. And yet I look around at, even in the church, and see maybe not as much joy as there could be or should be. Why is that? Is it not perhaps that we think of God as essentially angry with us? And yes, he sent his son Jesus to fix the problem and tidy it up and to forgive us. But somewhere underneath it all, there's this wrath and there's this smoke and there's this anger and this fire and this brimstone. And that's the real reality. And Jesus is the fix. He's the Band-Aid. He's the bandage. And we thank God for the bandage. He's the rescue operation, and so we're rescued. But the real reality was the fire. And the fire comes from God. And so even though we see Jesus, and we see the forgiveness and the love and the mercy and the grace, somehow the real reality underneath that is the fire and the smoke and the anger and the wrath. Because Jesus is the fix to the problem, and the problem is God. And I think that we've drunk from those wells pretty deeply, unknowingly, for maybe many years, maybe all of our lives. And so even though we love Jesus and we're so thankful for him and we're thankful for forgiveness and grace and mercy and love and peace and all that, somehow deep down we feel like maybe that's not the whole truth and that's not really what God is like. Maybe somehow he's still mad at me. And I know that Jesus is shielding me from the Father, but behind him you've got this angry, wrathful God who's still mad. And so you run to Jesus, but God, kind of scary. In fact, the Lutheran tradition in particular has a long history of that. Martin Luther used to say things like, Jesus I love so very much, in him I see such sweetness and light and mercy and forgiveness. But God the Father, of him I am afraid. Don't be afraid. Jesus says that he knows the Father and has come to reveal the Father. So when Jesus opens up his arms wide in love and in mercy and in forgiveness, he's not shielding you from the Father's wrath. What he's doing is he's showing you the Father's love, the love that was always there, always from the beginning, and will always be there forever. The Father says, I will search for my sheep. I will rescue them. I will bring them out. I will feed them. I will be their shepherd. I'll make them lie down. I will seek them out. I will bring them back. I will bind them up. I will strengthen them. The Father says this. And then he does it in Jesus. Jesus does perform a rescue operation. Yes, that's true. But he's not saving us from God. He's saving us from sin. And from death. And from all of the things that hurt us and harm us and seek to destroy us. Jesus is not here to save us from God. He's here to show us the God who saves us. I think that that's a different kind of story. I think it's a biblical story. I think it's true. I think that that's where joy is to be found. And that when we drink of those wells, there is a joy that nothing can take from us, not even the rejection of our friends or the loss of our possessions, not stoning, not shipwreck, not hunger or thirst, not nakedness or homelessness, not persecution, not the Roman lash on our back, not even a torturous and unjust death. Nothing could ever take the joy away, ever. But how? How is that possible? How can anyone live a life of an unending, absolute, profound joy? I think you know. You remember when your loved one died. You remember. Whoever the loved one is, I don't know who you're thinking of right now, although I can guess. Maybe it's your mother or your father. Maybe it's your husband. Maybe it's a brother. Maybe a friend. Maybe it was a spouse. You remember when they died. You remember how you felt. You remember how it tore you up inside. You remember how much it broke you down and how much you missed them and how much you still miss them right now, here today. So imagine how you would feel if you saw them alive again. Right here. And you knew that nothing would ever separate you from them again. Nothing ever. That they were alive in a way that death could not touch. What would you feel? Joy. You wouldn't even be able to contain it. No matter what happened, nothing could take that away because nothing could ever take them away. That's what happened to the disciples. They saw Jesus alive again. He is risen. Risen, never to leave them. Never to forsake them. Ever again. That is what happened. And Jesus' death has the resurrection to follow, and that resurrection has implications. It means that God has defeated death entirely, altogether, for everyone. It means that God is renewing creation, that he's restoring the Garden of Eden. He's giving us life again. And it's a life where there is no more death. There is no more murder or theft or adultery. He's giving us a life of laughter and happiness and love, of community and family and enduring relationships, friendships that never go bad. He's filling the whole earth with his glory and making all things new. You heard it today. That's joy. The disciples had it. You can too. Because it is for you. All of it is for you. Jesus is risen for you. Death doesn't have the last word. Your sorrow or your troubles or your persecutions or your enemies, your sicknesses, none of those things have the last word. God has the last word. The Father has the last word. And his word is Jesus. And Jesus is alive and well and strong and seeking you out right now. Incidentally, who is he seeking out? Everyone. We were talking the other day, I think it was Tim over there, Brother Tim. It doesn't matter. who it was, but I'm pretty sure it was him. And we were talking about how sometimes the gospel can be offensive. And offensive to those within the church, because sometimes it sounds almost as though you're saying it's for everyone, Pastor. Yes, it is. I am saying that, and if you're offended at that, Tim wasn't, but if anybody's offended at that, go back. Look at it. Who's he seeking out? He's seeking out the lost. It's there. The lost. He's bringing back the strayed. He's binding up the injured. He's strengthening the weak. He's not waiting for the weak to become strong before he'll touch them. He grabs them first. He's not waiting for the injured to heal before he comes. He's the one who brings the healing. He's not waiting for the lost to find their way back. He goes out to grab them. Yeah, it's for everyone. It's even for those people who don't believe. The lost and the strayed and the injured and the weak. That's joy. That's the kind of God that we have. His glory fills the whole earth, not just this church. Not just the place where the bread is on the altar and the water's in the bowl and I'm standing at the pulpit. His glory fills the whole earth. Isn't that what he's always wanted? The Missionary Enterprise isn't about bringing Jesus to a place where he's never been. It's just about pointing out that he's always been there all along. Don't you see him? Now imagine this sadness and this pain that you had when your loved one died, and how you felt and how you still feel. And now imagine when you see them again, and you know nothing will separate you. I want to tell you that that's not an imagination. It's not a dream. It is real. Jesus said, I am the resurrection and I am the life. Whoever believes in me will live. Even though he dies, he'll live and live and live and live and be filled with life. They're all coming back again. They all are. The earth, the grave, and the sea, are all going to give up their dead, and they will come out alive again. Jesus is risen, and that resurrection is the reality. That saving grace and mercy and love and forgiveness is the reality, is the ultimate reality, not the smoke and the fire and the damnation. The real reality is God's love for all people everywhere of all times. That's joy. And nothing can take that away. Yes, you'll still mourn. I do. You still will have times of sadness and grief. You won't always have a smile on your face or laughter in your heart. Deep down, you'll have a joy, though. You can have a joy. You can have a confidence. You can have a hope because Jesus lives. Do I need to say it again? You know the words. Because Jesus lives, you can face tomorrow, whatever comes. Because Jesus lives, all fear is gone. Because Jesus lives, you know that he holds the future. Not your boss or the person who's angry at you or the disease or the doctor or the politicians or Barack Obama or whoever the heck else it is that we're upset at. God holds the future. And this life, no matter how terrible it might get, even with all its ups and its downs and its disappointments and its heartaches, this life is worth living because he lives. I don't know why that isn't in our hymnal. Jesus said you will have joy. I know that some of you maybe don't feel very joyful all the time. That's understandable. I know that you have trials. I know that you have troubles. I know that you've had grief. I certainly have. And some of that grief seems like it will never go away. And when you hear Jesus say, you will have joy, you think to yourself, oh, great. Now I must not even be a Christian because I don't feel very joyful. You're thinking about it all wrong. When Jesus said you will have joy, he wasn't putting a burden on you as if you need to work up this joy in yourself somehow. As if it's some indication of failure on your part when you don't have joy. When Jesus says you will have joy, he isn't placing a burden on your back. What he's doing is he's lifting one off. He's taking one away. He's telling you that no matter what your circumstances, no matter how deep your sadness is and your pains and your griefs, he lives. And those things won't have the last word. God will. The Father will. And he, Jesus, is the living expression of the Father's last word. And he It's a word straight from heaven, straight from the Father. I love you. I have conquered all of your enemies. I am the living one. Death has no hold over me. I give my life for you. I give my life to you. You will live. Even though you die, you will live. You will live with me forever. I will make you new. I will make your family new. I will make your friends new. I will make